How happy is the blameless Vestio's lot, the world forgetting, by the world forgot. Eternal sunshine of the spotless mind, each prayer accepted, and each wish resigned. This is a poem by Alexander Pope entitled Eloisia to Aberland and is featured in the 2004 romantic sci-fi film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, a movie whose themes and messages revolve around heartbreak, soulmates, memories, the good and the bad, and the consequences of peace of mind when trying to forget the pain and suffering of a relationship turned sour. The idea of being able to remove painful memories through a medical technical process is the main plot, featuring two lovers that, though at odds, still manage to find a way to find each other and fall in love all over again. The spotless mind, referring to the pain and heartbreak one can experience in love and relationships. I will eventually come back to this movie later on in the video, but I just want to give a little bit of context for the album that we're about to go into. This brings us to Eternal Sunshine, Ariana Grande's 7th studio album and what many consider to be her magnum opus. The ideas, themes, and messages in this project focus on heartbreak, loss, grief, love, and light nearing the end of a relationship, while also offering a hopeful and self-loving outlook on life. Following her last project, Positions, and the subsequent pandemic in 2020 cut the era short, so fans were very eager in awaiting her next project. Ariana started subtly teasing this project in late 2022, but really ramped up at the end of 2023. A few other things in my opinion that subtly foreshadow what this era would be were the numerous photos that she took and posted where she was bathing and glowing in sunlight, which is very important, especially for those of us that remember her aesthetic during the Thank You Next era, where it was very cloud-based imagery, as well as the numerous references to Sweetener, which we'll get on into later in this video. Also, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hayes, and let's get right into this video. In late December 2023, we get the first teasers for what would become her first single, entitled Yes And. Now, I feel like it's important to give a little bit of context for this single. I know a lot of us already know, but for those of us that aren't chronically online, I just want to give a little basic rundown of the situation. Around July of 2023, rumors were circulating, and I mean circulating, of the possible potential relationship between Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater, one of her co-stars for the musical fantasy Wicked, slated, no pun intended, to come out in November of 2024. The problem being that at the time, not only had Ariana Grande just been divorced from her then husband Dalton Gomez at the time for a few months, but also Ethan Slater was allegedly still in a relationship and in a marriage with his then wife. Not long after the rumor started circulating, Lily came out to say, "Ariana's the story, really. Not a girl's girl. My family is just collateral damage." But yes, once this hit the streets, everybody and their mama was dragging Miss Ponytail by her roots. Like, it was madness. A little bit afterwards, it appears that Lily may have came and retracted her statements when it came to Ariana Grande. There appear to be conflicting reports about whether or not at the time Ethan and Lily were divorced or not, but it seems that at the end of the day, it seems that they were divorced, but please let me know down in the comments below if you guys have any more information about this. Also, unfortunately, at the time and for a couple of months beforehand, Ariana Grande was getting a lot of comments online about her physical appearance, her body, her face, her hair. People were calling her old, all types of things. So on January 12th, 2024, Ariana Grande released her response to this, including the single Yes and the accompanying music video. And although the video and the choreography were very popular and got a lot of traction on social media with people trying to recreate the choreography and everything, I did want to mainly touch on the lyrics of the song. The main thing that I'll say about the video is that in the video, she invited a bunch of critics to go watch her new song and new performance, and she gets in their face, pulls out a tuning fork and says, "Bop, do it on pitch." She says, "Sing it on pitch. Y'all are pitchy. If you're going to talk shit, say it on pitch. Exactly. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the lyrics and the messages and themes of this song and why it was a perfect introduction for this album and this era despite what the noise says. Quote saying, "Now I'm so done with caring. What you think, no I won't hide. Underneath your own projection or change my most authentic life." Considering at the time how long Ariana had been in the public eye for basically her entire life and has faced much scrutiny and criticism and backlash over the years for even the smallest things, and their opinions about you really changes how you view yourself as well. And that's the thing about social media. So many people trying to project their own thoughts, insecurities, and feelings onto other people, especially celebrities. A lot of experts with no expertise. And if you find yourself in a dark situation, just turn on your light and be like. Themes of light and dark are a recurring element within Ariana's music, especially since Sweetener. The struggle to find the light in the dark and also understand and come to terms with the darkness and understand the lessons and pain that you go through when you go through that, you know? I also love how it's phrased. Turn on your own light. The themes of self-love, nurturing, and growing the strength within yourself to find your own light and gather that love and light and happiness from your own self. Yes, and say that shit with your chest. I love how direct and unfazed this seems to be from Ariana. It feels so cathartic for her that after so many years of having to deal with so much public scrutiny, it feels like she's really kind of just releasing all of that out. My face is sitting, I don't need no disguise. Don't comment on my body, do not reply. Your business is yours and mine is mine. Why do you care so much? Whose dick I ride? She said what she said. About a week later, while Yes and was making the rounds on social media, she announces the album title and gives us a little bit hint as to what the cover art might look like. I do really like one of these. It's one of the first ones that she teased, but I'm very partial to one that I had seen where there's 3 versions of her, because not only does it highlight the sunshine aspect on her face and gives the cover and era a good pop of color with red, but I do think the ending message to take away from this album and the cover works really well for what she was going for. It was around this time that Yes and debuted at #1 on Billboard, and she took the time to write a thank you note to her fans, as well as introducing us to really the message and ideas of this coming album. And not too long after this, we got the Yes and remix with Mariah Carey, which the internet tore apart for some reason. Is it my favorite remix? No. But the way y'all dragged it, as well as Yes and saying it's not a good song, which to this day I don't know what y'all are hearing because it's a certified bop. This goes into a whole other conversation that I had on Twitter not too long ago. Link down below. Whereas then I've noticed that many of y'all actually hate house or house elements in songs. I see how y'all reacted to Renaissance. I notice how y'all react and feel when artists get into that bag, but have no problem taking from and using all of these words and phrases from ballroom and house culture all day on social media, but get scared when your fave comes and feels inspired. But their mother, right? But then y'all will sit up here and stand up. Let me not be messy. As the release date drew closer, we got more and more of the track list being teased slowly as Ariana shows us more and also teases a little bit of the lyrics on her last track list post, which we'll go through the track list and highlight some lyrics in just a minute. We also get a few posts teasing the look and intro of We Can't Be Friends, what will become her second single off of Eternal Sunshine. And I'm sure a lot of us already know, but for those of us that may not understand the reference, I will get into that a little bit later in this video. Eternal Sunshine was finally released on March 7th, 2024 to glowing reception, many coining this to be Ariana Grande's best, most personal and intricate work to date. It's also coined as Ariana's first concept album, which I would have thought it was Sweetener, giving the lyrics and the ideas and the messages of that, but I guess. Now I want to go down the track list of this album. I won't go over every single lyric because otherwise we'd be here for hours, but I do want to highlight some of the lyrics that really drive home the point, themes, messages of this album, and how this compares to some of her early work where she talks about some of the same things. Intro, End of the World. The intro to an album is one of the most important aspects. Not only do you have to hook people to be curious to hear more, but you also have to set the scene, themes, messages, and ideas that will be featured throughout this project, and boy does it. She starts off the album with, "How can I tell if I'm in the right relationship? Aren't you really supposed to know that shit? Feel it in your bones and own that shit." She starts off questioning if she's even with the right person at the moment. The underlying pain that can come from overthinking, feeling anxious about such a decision, especially for seemingly who this song is about. Being married to them and thinking that you're going to spend the rest of your life with someone, and then getting those feelings, thoughts, and anxieties, I can imagine can be really scary and really terrifying. Wondering if your partner even feels the same way and the same amount of love as you do for them. The question is later answered on the final track of this album, Ordinary Things, that we'll get into obviously a little bit later in this video. She goes on to say, "I wonder if he's judging me like I am right now. I don't care though. I'd rather tell the truth than make it worse for you. If the sun refused to shine, baby, would I still be your lover? Would you want me there? If the moon went dark tomorrow and it all ended tomorrow, would I be the one in your mind? And would you be the one on mine?" This imagery, obviously from the namesake of this song, calls forth apocalyptic imagery, which subtly reminds me of, at least visually, the themes of One Last Time. I think this does a really good job of introducing the idea of this project and the type of mental state that she was at the time. But like I said, I really like the apocalyptic imagery spoken within this song. It really feels like Ariana has an ultimatum that she has in mind about whether or not she actually wants to stay with this person. At the end of the day, and even into the end of our lives, would you still love me? She ends the song with a very interesting thought though. Not asking if she would be on his mind, but seemingly asking herself, would he be on her mind? Which I think is a very interesting thing to especially end the song off on, because that really reiterates how much she is confused and wondering if she even feels as strongly as she thinks she does. Which leads us into the next song, Bye. She starts the song off with the line, "This ain't the first time I've been hostage to these tears. I can't believe I'm finally moving through my fears. At least I know how hard we both tried, both you and me." Ariana is no stranger to getting emotionally vulnerable on a track, talking about her fears, insecurities, emotional vulnerability. And I feel like in moments like this on this album, we get a good reflection and evolution of lyrics and ideas and headspace when it comes to Ariana, especially compared to Sweetener and Thank You Next. No Tears Left to Cry, for example, has this idea of being in the right state of mind after dealing with loss, pain, and trauma. She has no tears left to cry, but it's interesting she says that she's in the process of picking herself up. And as we can see in Thank You Next, she had to put on this fake smile for the public, and even for herself during this time. But with this project, it feels more authentic, like she's really taking in and building this from a place of inner happiness and peace. She's really at the point in her life where she can really begin to really understand and process the things and the trauma and the pain that she's went through in her life. You know, I'm stronger than I think. I love this line because it's so true for all of us. We're all stronger than we think, myself included. Growth, healing, resilience, confidence, and strength are ideas we build, develop, and fortify the older we get and the more experience we get in the world. And the more we've been through, the more we can learn from our mistakes, come to terms with our traumas, and overcome anxious thoughts. Maybe someday we'll look back with love. Didn't think you'd lose me, now it's too late to choose me. Boy, bye. I love that because especially the line about looking back with love is really highlighted, especially within the video of We Can't Be Friends. You can still have love and respect for someone. Just because it didn't work out between you two doesn't mean you have to harbor such hatred and resentment for somebody. In an interview, Ariana stated how this song is a reflection of how her and her parents' marriage and love and the separation between them and how she internalized that. Quote saying, "I think growing up, you want what you don't have. Like, my parents got divorced for all the right reasons. They weren't supposed to be together. And you kind of crave, when you grow up, the happily ever after. So you ignore all these issues and you cling onto the idea of the fairy tale, and you get self-abandoned. And I think my mom is a fierce example of not doing that. Craving that fairy tale love and the happily ever after is definitely gonna make you ignore a lot of red flags and signs that you shouldn't be together." I don't know if I have many, but for any younger viewers out there, or I guess younger than myself, the idea of the fairy tale romance is just that, a fairy tale. I was in a few relationships that were not healthy, and I ended up feeling, why can I never really maintain or feel this honeymoon, this fairy tale love that I feel like I'm supposed to express and feel for people? And it's because I had this idealized perception of what love was supposed to look and feel like. Don't want to break up again. I fall asleep crying. You turn up the TV. You don't want to hear me. One more sleepless night. It's the audacity in the cheek for me, like, huh? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? This reflects a little bit of her previous lyrics in Ghosting from Thank You Next, where she describes knowing her partner hears her at night crying and trying to hold that in and trying to be strong, but falling apart all the same. I don't want to fuck with your head. It's breaking my heart to keep breaking yours again. And this situationship has to end. Referring to her marriage as a situationship, I'm screaming. But here she's internalizing how much she might be hurting this other person and messing with their emotions due to all the trauma and pain and loss that she's experienced, and having to deal with that and all the things that come with that. I've made it so easy, spent so much on therapy, blamed my own codependency, but you didn't even try, and when you finally did, it was at the wrong time. I won't abandon me again for you and I. Ariana has been very vocal about going to therapy and trying to process the pain of her traumas and life and putting in the work to actually become a better person and work through her codependency issues. While her partner seemingly didn't do any of that, at least until the very end when it was already too late. Guys, for any of y'all out there that need to hear this, if you have a partner that is not willing to put in the work or put in any of the hard labor and the pain that it's going to take to become a better person, not only are they just not in a healthy relationship with their own selves, but that's also not going to be a healthy relationship for you. Leave. Please do not keep repeating this cycle of breaking up and getting back together. Won't abandon me for you again. The idea of abandoning your own self in order to put the needs or feelings of your own relationship or your partner's feelings or health or ideas above your own. Relationships with other people are great, but the best relationship that you will ever have is with yourself. And that takes us into Saturn Returns interlude. The Saturn cycle takes around 29 years. That's when you're going to wake up and smell the coffee, because if you've been sort of relying on your cleverness or just kind of floating along, Saturn comes along and hits you over the head. It's time to get real about your life, sort out who you really are. For my astrology girls out there, I really love the lyrics and messaging of this song interlude, because Saturn energy will give you back what you've invested into it, telling you to get serious about what it is that you want from your life and who you really are as a person. Now, I haven't really reached that period yet. That's about 4 years away from me, but any one of us who are 25 and older can probably relate to this. When that frontal lobe closes, yeah. When that finishes developing, you get serious about what you want to do with your own life, and you become more aware of your own self and more confident in your own self and who you need to be to not only get what you want out of life, but to also become the best possible version of yourself in order to make yourself happy. And that brings us into the title track, Eternal Sunshine. I'm always very curious and excited about title tracks, because other than maybe the intro and maybe the outro, I feel like this is around the time when it's the best to really be cut and dry about what it is that this entire project is about. The themes, the messages, ideas. What are you trying to convey with this project, with this story? What are you saying? I also love how this is a direct continuation from the previous track, transitioning into this beautiful, floaty instrumental with a lot of laughs and giggles in the very beginning of the track. I don't care what people say. We both know I couldn't change you. I guess you could say the same. Get me out of this loop. It seems that both parties found things that they didn't like within each other, and it seemed that there wasn't an equal shift or positive shift forward. Like I said, I think this is a great placement for this track coming right after Saturn Returns interlude that really shows who she wants to be. Where does she want to be in life? And then right before with I Don't Want to Break Up Again, where it seems like you're in this constant loop of breaking up, getting back together, breaking up, getting back together, heartbreak and attraction pulling them back together again. I'll be the first to say I'm sorry. Now you've got me feeling sorry. I've showed you all my demons, all my lies, and yet you played me like Atari. Feeling like you're always the first or sometimes only person to apologize or feel vulnerable. In that way can really resonate with a lot of people, myself included. It's this constant need to feel like less of a burden to other people and apologize for the smallest of things, even if it's unnecessary. I feel like a lot of trauma response is to feeling like your feelings and your trauma and your burdens annoy other people. To be vulnerable and honest with somebody about your own shortcomings, your demons, and open about them, just to feel like you're getting played, feels awful, I can imagine. And like such a betrayal of trust that you put and invested this much time and energy in. Being open about these kind of things, it's not easy. Now it's like I'm looking in a mirror. Hope you feel alright when you're in her. I found a good boy and he's on my side. You're just my eternal sunshine. Here's where she references the film. The two lovers, Joel and Clementine, try to erase each other from their memories before diving deep into theirs and remembering all the good times they had and choosing instead to treasure them. With the next line, she's directly talking about trying to wipe her mind so she feels less insane and have less pain, saying that she's rather move on, which is a departure from the end of the movie. And this directly ties into the end of the We Can't Be Friends video, where they are shown to be separate at the end. This song's subject matter seems to play on a bit of a sadder idea and themes, but it has this, it doesn't feel sad, it has this happiness to it, like this light, this positivity, like she's happy where she's at. I try to wipe my mind just to feel less insane, rather feel painless. I'd rather forget than know for sure what we could have been through behind this door. So I close it and move. And as I mentioned before, that this song uses a lot of references to Joel and Clementine, where they try to erase each other from each other's memories after breaking up yet again. Trying to erase these aspects of yourself that make you who you are, regardless of the pain and everything. This is where you're supposed to learn. People can be lessons, and you can take that or you cannot, and you may repeat some of the same mistakes that you did before if you don't learn from the lessons of these people in your life. Supernatural. With the last song going into this one, it seems like she's really trying to move on and actually is moving on from her last relationship onto a new one. And in the song, she describes what this new relationship is, how it makes her feel, and that this love's possessing me, but I don't mind at all. It's like supernatural. It's taking over me, don't want to fight the fall. A love, especially a new one, can feel like this sometimes. It can feel like you're expressing yourself or feeling something that you've never felt before. It can feel otherworldly, like this person is possessing you and taking over every aspect of your life, making you do things or say things or feel things that you may not have done otherwise. Especially for someone like Ariana, who I can imagine can be very anxiety inducing moving on from a previous relationship, especially within the public eye. But the fact that she's not wanting to fight the feelings of this shows how deep this love, or at least on initial impact, feels. Nothing else felt this way inside me. Boy, let's go too far. I want you to come claim it. I do. What are you waiting for? I want you to name it. I do. Want you to make it yours. This reminds me a bit of the lyrical and themes and ideas of Dangerous Woman, especially the idea of going headfirst into a relationship or something that makes you feel so different. It's such an exciting feeling that you don't mind going into the danger zone or exploring things that you've never done before. It can feel very exciting. And it seems that, especially after coming off the heels of her previous relationship, I can understand why she may feel this way if this person is providing things or giving her a feeling or doing things that, the other relationship partner may not have done, that we saw that there was shortcomings on his part. And thus we move on to True Story. I really like these two songs together, besides the fact that they're my favorite two off the album, but I digress. But even just message-wise, I really like the idea that it feels like the supernatural feels like an immediate kind of reaction. It feels like the initial really strong love, that attraction that you feel for somebody when the relationship is still new and exciting and everything. And from what we've seen, it wasn't long after Ethan and Ariana were getting closer that the public eye really started to get a hold of that story and completely run with it. And this is where this next song comes in. This is a true story about all the lies you fantasize about you and I. This is a true story about all the games I know you play. Aside from the reference to her unreleased song Fantasize, which, especially with this next song coming up, feels like it was directly influenced by, here she seems to mainly be addressing the rumors and speculation and basically telling us that we don't know the full story. We don't know the truth. We don't know the ins and outs of these people's lives and what happened, what didn't happen, but people have a perception and idea of what happened and they're running with that. I'll play the villain if you need me to. I know how this goes. Turning like a dime, wasting all your time. Turning like a dime, wasting all their time, sneaking like a creep in the night. But I'll play whatever part you need me to. Here, and especially within the next 3 songs of this little mini arc within this story, she's playing the villain role and she doesn't mind playing that. Expertly accented with the darker instrumental and the beats of especially the next 2 songs. She, at this point, and I especially understand that after a long time of being in the public eye and under scrutiny for a long time, you stop caring. You start feeling like, if you want me to play this role, I'll play it. I don't care anymore. And here in these lines, she specifically talks about the idea of people are talking about how she is basically wasting these men's time, getting into relationships with them when she doesn't know whether or not it's going to work or not. And she especially calls on the imagery of people essentially calling her like a creep in the night, kind of encroaching on these men, sneaking and stalking them, in a way. And here she's embracing that instead of being in her head and being anxious and worrying about, what this person and this person, no, I gotta change in there and everything. She's like, no, I'll embrace it. I'll embrace the villain role. I'll play the bad girl if you need me to, if it makes you feel better. I'll be the one you love to hate, can't relate, too much on my plate. See it in your eyes, you got too much time. For fun, you like to pray for my demise, but I'll play whatever part you need me to. And I'll be good at it too. I love these lines. And like I said, for as long as she's been in the public eye, I can imagine at a certain point, you just let people run with whatever not whatever narrative, but you stop really caring about what it is that people are really having to say, especially for people who are not involved in the situation and don't know what's going on. If it makes y'all feel better about yourselves and your own peace of mind to have this perception of her, people online love to hate, drag, and project onto celebrities to take them down a notch or to humble them or just to knock them down a bit. But since we think we got her pegged, she'll play the part and be good at it too. And this is where the next song, The Boy Is Mine, comes in. This is a direct follow-up from the last song and really gets into that villain role that she was talking about in the previous song. How can it be? You and me might be meant to be, but I don't want to cause no scene. Something about him is made for somebody like me, and God knows I'm trying, but there's no use to denying. This song obviously takes inspiration from the classic track Brandy and Monica's of the same name, The Boy Is Mine, and also from her unreleased song Fantasize, as I said before. In there, she's explaining her thoughts about the situation with her new lover and the public's reaction. Craving, desiring someone that you know that you shouldn't, but it just feels like you just need to get in there, you know? In this song, Ariana describes how this song is meant to be the bad girl anthem of the album following True Story. And it's a direct response to the homewrecking allegations that came around mid to late 2023, stating, "This is a very bad idea, I think, but there's a large group of my fans that really do love a bad girl anthem, and this is kind of an elevated version of that." She's talking about me. She's talking about me. I when it's done right and it bops, I love a bad girl anthem, and this right here, oh, it bops. Oh, it's a bop. I think it's very purposeful, in my opinion, for her to use the specific word scene, especially with the idea that she used that exact same word in Eternal Sunshine to describe Ethan, or the situation with Ethan. The boy is mine. I can't wait to try him. Let's get intertwined. The stars, they align. The boy is mine. In the original, Brandy and Monica song involves both women in a love triangle with this man, where one intends to steal the man from the other. Here, Ariana seems to directly jump, going head first into it without many obstacles in her way, stating that they were destined for each other. The stars aligned for them to be there, so she's gonna go after that. And that's the thing, Ariana has used a lot of space imagery, especially since Sweetener, to describe love. And especially in here, where it's described as being written in the stars, and later in this album you'll see her talking about being aligned with the cosmos and everything. And I love her use of space imagery when it comes to talking about romance. And this song, along with True Story, tie directly into the next track, Yes And, which we've already covered. And this is why I say that Yes And works on this project, and it works as a first single to hype up. Usually you put out your most hype song as the first single, or I guess a song that like directly translates to like the lyrics and the themes and ideas of this project, which it did, and it fit perfectly in this frame, in this little arc that she had in the middle of this album. I feel like I had to reiterate that because too many people that I saw with their reactions or just talking about this album were talking about how not only is Yes And a bad song, but also talking about the fact that that this song doesn't make sense not only within this album but also as a first single. Yes, it does. It fits perfectly within the storyline, and it also is a perfect example of getting that shit off of her chest and saying what it is that she needed to say when it came to the whole Ethan situation and the whole everyone talking about her body and comments online about her appearance and everything. So moving right along to the next song in this album that will eventually become her second single from this project, and really explores the idea of the titular film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, We Can't Be Friends. With this song, there seems to be different interpretations of how this song and what the song is about, and I like that Ariana talks about how she knows that there's different interpretations, but I want to talk about, I guess, two of the main ones that I feel like can really be interpreted from this song. One interpretation seems to be Ariana and her relationship with the public, the press, being in the public eye, being scrutinized for everything from her body and her face to her music, lyrics, and personal life. Ariana cares very deeply about her craft, her artistry, and the human connection that comes with that, and people connecting with that into her art, the story, the emotions, the pain, the heartbreak, the passion, and desire for love. While another interpretation can be her talking about her previous relationships and moving on to something healthier, but also not to leave the relationship harboring so many negative thoughts about this person. Moving with love and positivity and still wishing the best for somebody. I didn't think you'd understand me. How could you ever even try? I don't want to tiptoe, but I don't want to hide. And I don't want to feed this monstrous fire. Just want to let this story die and I'll be alright. The general public doesn't fully understand her story and her life, and how could we? We're not her. We're not living her life. We don't know the full inner workings of what it is that's going on behind the scenes. And she doesn't want to have to tiptoe around her thoughts or feelings or life when it comes to the general public and how they perceive what it is that she's doing in her own life experiences. Like I said, Ariana cares very much for her craft and her artistry and her life and how it's perceived. But at this point, she's gotten to this point where she's happy and content regardless of what it is that people have to say about her. We can't be friends, but I like to just pretend. You cling onto your papers and pen. Wait until you like me again. I'll wait for your love. She knows that she cannot please everybody, and for those of us that fell out of favor of her due to rumors and allegations and speculation and all the talk on social media, she'll be here patiently waiting for you to like her again or for your love to return back for her. On my initial listen, my first interpretation of especially the chorus was talking about the whole Ethan thing. It seemed like, for me at least at the time, that she had this perception that we can't, because so many people are so upset at us and have this much feeling and resentment to us, we can't even be friends. But I'll wait for you. I'll wait for your love for whenever we're able to, express that and be with each other without having to worry about being completely dragged online. It can also be interpreted as her previous relationship and how she'll be willing to wait for their love and for them to like her again after the relationship ended. Still showing that softer, vulnerable side. And if any of the rumors or speculation, which here I go, proving her point, were to be true, then there's a possibility that, in the previous relationship with, her marriage and everything, there might have been some level of infidelity. And I can understand if the whole situation with Ethan didn't go down the way the public thought it did. I can understand how that would hurt her, especially if she had went through a similar thing. And the love aspect is specifically explored more within the music video for this song, which let's get into. Me and my truth, we sit in silence. Baby girl, it's just me and you. I don't want to argue, but I don't want to bite my tongue. I think I'd rather die. You got me misunderstood, but at least I look this good. Ariana talks a lot in this album about being alone, but not necessarily in a bad or negative way. It seems to be in a very positive light of loving yourself and taking the time to protect yourself and taking and enjoying your own company and learning to love yourself, being alone and everything. And I think this is especially a beautiful idea, and I think it really carries the message of why the album cover is the way that it is, of her laying on her own shoulder. It's giving her own self a shoulder to cry on, or a shoulder to just lay on, to rely on her own self. She doesn't want to feel like she has to go back and forth with people and argue all day long about the semantics of what happened in this and trying to prove people right and everything, or try and prove people wrong. She'd rather just sit in silence and maybe just address things in the music like she is here now. Ariana has been through so much in her life, mentally, physically, and emotionally, but she's okay at this point with being misunderstood if that means she gets to protect her own peace. And that obviously also ties into the previous 3 tracks. I feel so seen in the night, so for now, it's only me. And maybe that's all I need. Again, playing on the ideas of self-love and solitude and enjoying your own self and being your own light and being your own protection and being your own safety, which I feel like is definitely an evolution of the ideas that she tried to pose within Sweetener and Thank You Next. Going into the music video and the behind the scenes, we see Ariana talking about the project and the video and what the message of the music video was supposed to be, and the differences between that and the original film. Like I said, with the ending where they end up not getting back together, and that's okay. They're just trying to get out of the toxic cycle of breaking up and getting back together. Christian Bracelayer talks about how he interpreted the song in a romantic sense, which spurred the idea for the video. I love how Ariana says how her friends, family, co-workers, and even the public have different interpretations of this song and its message, and she loves that. She loves that so many people can pick up on so many different meanings with this song depending on what they've been through in their life. It's kind of about erasing the pain and the heartbreak and being able to move on and be happy, and even if that means not being with each other, and no one gets to lose. Like, both parties can still win, both parties can still be happy for each other. In the video, Ariana plays a character named Peaches, which is obviously a direct connection to Clementine in the original movie, the love interest. Starting off in the Brighter Days Inc. office, a Nodulosenia Inc. in the film, the company behind the memory erasing procedure, holding a box of all the things that Peaches has that reminds or is in association with her lover that will be disposed of after the procedure. She goes in to get her memory wiped, and she, just as Joel does in the film, goes through a dream trip of sorts through her memories of the lover and the times that they've had together. It's worth noting a little bit of the differences between this and the original film, in that Joel in the original, when he first really went through his memories, we got on the first surface level, we got a lot of the bad memories that they've had together, arguing, fighting, just constantly like kind of being at each other. And then the deeper he goes and the more and more of his memories are being wiped, we see him like really like begin to understand, like, no, I love her, I love this person. Like, we've had bad memories, of course, but we've also had really good ones as well. He notices they both already wiped each other from each other's memories before the film started, and in the end they get back together knowing it probably won't last, but that their love is so strong and that they genuinely love each other and feel connected to each other, that to them it doesn't matter as long as they have each other now. Compared to in this version at the end, where we see the two lovers have their own relationships that they've moved on to, and they walk past each other. Obviously they don't remember each other because that was the whole memory wiping process, but I imagine that they would still love each other and still care about each other and be happy for each other, moving on and finding love and finding that happiness. And like I said before, the differences in how this is shown is that we don't see really I don't remember any of the bad memories being shown within this video. It seems like it was mainly good memories, and I think that was very intentional to really highlight the fact that they do love each other and there is a level of care for each other there, and regardless of whether or not they move on, they'll still always be there. Like, and in the end, when we see the procedure is done, we see her crying and you know, being very happy, but she's also like holding onto a necklace, which I presume is something that her lover actually gave her, in Ariana, in real life, and she's holding onto just like can I keep this one? I love that so much, because it's like, despite the fact that she probably wouldn't even know what that meant, it still holds a level of subconscious like feelings that she wants to hold on to, and it proves the point that it's just like, regardless of, you know, whether or not they move on from each other, they'll always still have those good memories together, and she wants to keep at least one thing left from that, and she wants to keep that in her heart rather than resentment and hatred. And speaking of hatred, I Wish I Hated You. Ariana has expressed that she can't perform this song live because of the overwhelming emotions. I'm guessing this is her most emotional song on this project, at least to her. Hung all my clothes in the closet you made. Your shoes still in boxes, I send them your way. Hoping life brings you no new pain. I rearrange my memories. I try to rewrite our life, but no matter how hard I try or how easy things would be if I did, I wish I hated you. In this home that she imagined spending her life with this man that she married, she's, you know, sending over his stuff, but there's no resentment or ill will towards them. She still cares about them. And I feel like this is a very mature perspective, because you can easily fall into the trap of negativity and wishing harm, or like at least wishing that, or saying that, you know, you'll never be able to find someone like me, or, you know, that type of thing. But it doesn't have to be that way. Once again, referencing Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, where she talks about memories and wishing that she could have hers erased, and how much easier that would be if she did. It would be easier if they both hated each other and felt like they dodged a bullet and moved on from something horrible. That way they can feel like, I'm finally, you know, like at this place where I'm not with you, and because of that, that's why I'm happy. And Instead of that, she's moving on, and they're both moving on, but like I said, there's that level of love and happiness for each other there. Our shadows dance in parallel planes, just two different endings. I think this is such a beautiful way of phrasing how y'all are two different people, and you know, no matter how much you wanted there to be some sort of crossover or convergent point, at the end of the day, y'all were two separate people, and you know, y'all went on to live y'all separate lives away from each other. Hi, so I don't know how, but I forgot to record a part for Imperfect for You, so I'm just gonna go ahead and squeeze that in here. My love, they don't understand, but I'll hold your hurt in the box here beside me. And here she is again, referencing the cosmos. It's just a very typical thing in Ariana's music, and her lyricism is constantly referring to outer space and everything. We crashed and we burned. Now I just can't go where you don't go. And usually I'm fucked up, anxious, too much, but I love you like you need me to. Messy, completely distressed, but I'm not like this since I met you, imperfect for you. In the song, we have her constantly referring to the previous relationship as, you know, crashing and burning. This was a disaster. How would we know this would be a happy disaster, you know? But she's glad that they were able to crash and burn. And here she is talking again about her anxieties and, you know, depression and, you know, what she's gone through and how that may be a little bit too much for people. And, you know, she's acknowledging that and understanding of that. And, you know, and even after all that, they still managed to find, you know, comfort in each other during those times. They made the bad stuff delightful. And despite the chaos, they still felt something, and they still feel something for each other. And again, referencing just like she did in the We Can't Be Friends video about how, you know, even after all of that, they're still able to feel some type of love that, you know, they can still hold on to that despite the relationship and, you know, each other by proxy, that they were imperfect for each other. Okay, back to the rest of the video. And the final track on this beautiful project is Ordinary Things. We could go pop all the champagne in California. We could have omakase in Tokyo. We could hang out in the Louvre all night if you want to. We could spend every dime, but I don't want anything but more time. With how rich and famous Ariana is and how much she's been for a long time, yes, all these excursions, these fancy dinners, going and traveling and spending all this money is nice, but stuff like that stops mattering as much to you. Human connection, love, being understood and accepted is what matters more than anything. And when Ariana Grande's mother, Nona, comes in at the end of this track, we get an answer to the question posed at the beginning of this project in the first song. How do you know if you're in the right relationship? Aren't you really supposed to know that shit? And when he'd come and I'd see him, it was like God Almighty arrived. It was like seeing daylight. And I told her never go to bed without kissing goodnight. And if you can, and you don't feel comfortable doing that, you're in the wrong place. Get out. And with that, we conclude this project. And she did post a slightly deluxe version, I think like not too long after the album came out. And that's basically just acapellas. It put the Yes and remix on the album. And there was also a Supernatural remix with Troye Sivan. And with that, we're all caught up with this era as it stands right now at the time of recording this video. I wanted to end this video with a little bit of a quote from Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This is it, Joel. It's gonna be gone soon. I know. What do we do? Enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into this beautiful project by Ariana Grande. I hope to do more stuff like this in the future. Maybe I'll do a similar thing with Cowboy Carter, which is coming out tonight at the time of recording this video. Let me know if there's anything else that you want to see from me. I hope y'all have a beautiful day wherever y'all are in the world, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye, it's over.